A shalom to the hopeful elect. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone who teach the truth and rule well. This is the brother Yatab Yahweh Allah coming back from the GMS SF Bay Area camp. And I got a quick lesson today. All right, Lord's will is edifying. Just going into the famines. All right, and we go into this a lot because this is a prophecy that's speaking. All right, with this whole shutting down of the Strait of Hormuz. All right, it's just gonna be like a snowball effect as the time progresses. All right, a lot of fertilizers, come out of there, and what needs fertilizing? These farmlands. All right. Um, but real quick, let me grab this in Habakkuk. All right. Hey, because we're what do we sent to send out these warnings? All right, by the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai, send out the warnings of what's to come, and you can see, this is a big plague that's coming to this place. Habakkuk 2:3, it says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak." All right, and this is an end time prophecy. It says, and the visions are these prophecies. It says, "But at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come; it will not tarry." All right, and this is coming to pass. All right. Now Matthew 24, and I'll start at verse 3. It says, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" All right, and ultimately, what, the end of Esau's world, the end of the heathen in rulership, right? It says, "And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." All right, and the plagues that are going to hit this place, all right, are likened unto contractions, right? Like when a woman is pregnant, getting ready to give birth, she goes through those contractions, and as the it gets closer to the birth, those contractions increase in frequency and in pain, right? So this is what's coming. This is only going to increase. All right, and this is end time prophecy. Now let me jump over here. um yeah, I just wanted to read a couple headlines, all right, just from Telegram. And it says, "Skyrocketing cost, drought, a perfect storm for Wyoming farmers and ranchers." So, again, you have a bunch of, um, what do you call it? A bunch of things going on that the Lord is doing to push famine upon this place. All right. Now, the Strait of Hormuz, that's one thing, but you have famines. I mean, you have droughts that are happening, right? You have processing plants that are being destroyed. You have farmland that's being bought up, right? You A whole bunch of things that are adding to this perfect storm, so to speak, of famine. Okay, and whether Esau's orchestrating or not, this is really from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It says high fertilizer cost and severe drought is leaving Wyoming farmers and ranchers making tough choices. It's kind of the perfect storm for agriculture, one farmer said, adding many aren't fertilizing this year because it's too expensive, right? That was Wyoming. Idaho. Farmers confronting a horrible perfect economic storm. It says farmers, Slakia, bear with me one second. Yeah, Slakia, it says farmers are facing a vortex of problems as they enter Idaho's prime growing season with limited water, low crop prices, higher gas and fertilizer costs, myriads of aphids and mite pests, abundant disease, damage from freezing temperatures and winds and weeds run wild. In addition, Idaho's warm winter combined with an abnormal number of freezing nights in April has decimated the winter wheat and barley crop, right? So you have, different bugs and different freezing situations. All right. Another one, it says farms in the South are struggling. 78% of Southern farmers say they can't afford all required fertilizer this year, the highest of any region. The South is exposed for two reasons: crop mix and pre booking behavior. Just 19% of Southern producers pre booked fertilizer ahead of the season versus 30% in the Northeast, 31% in the West, and 67% in the Midwest. Cotton, rice, and peanut growers, largely concentrated in the South, barely locked anything in before fertilizer prices skyrocketed. Only 13% of cotton growers and 9% of peanut growers pre booked. Those are also the most fertilizer intensive crops on the board, all right? And it gives you prices. So it says nearly all 94% farmers say their financial situation has worsened or stayed the same versus last year. Not making any money, right? It says the U.S. another one, U.S. farm sector is under a diesel and fertilizer cost shock. Farm bankruptcies up 46% year over year, the third straight annual increase. 1.9 million farms in America, the lowest ever recorded. Diesel prices are up 54.4% from a year ago. 70% of farmers say they can't afford to fertilize their fields this season. So this is this is leading again, like it says, to that perfect storm, right? Um, yep. Another one. This is the worst times for U.S. farmers coming into 2026. We are already in the midst of the worst farming crisis in the last 50 years. Now the war in the Middle East has caused fertilizer prices to go absolutely haywire, and a historic drought has created nightmare conditions for farmers from coast to coast. What we are witnessing is truly unprecedented. 1% survey, or select one recent survey discovered that 70% of US farmers won't be able to afford all the fertilizer they need this year, right? So again, yeah, and then he goes on to say the same thing. Now I'm gonna read this last article and grab a couple more precepts. But again, you can see, this closing of the Strait of Hormuz. All right, and they're talking about a closing a couple of other different straits. That a lot of shipping goes through. This is leading to the perfect storm. All right, the Lord is literally setting up prophecy. All right, the Lord is working. Okay, it says California farm, and this is from CBSNews.com, dated March 12th, 2026. It says California farmers concern over fertilizer shortages as Iran war disrupts shipment. All right. So again, it's not just the South. All right. It's all over the U.S. It says, yep. Let me just read a little bit of it. It says the war with Iran is now leading, and this was 2 months ago, right? We're already in May. It says leading to growing concerns among California farmers over a fertilizer shortage, with many fertilizing products coming from shipments that are stuck in the Persian Gulf. The fears of shortages come at a critical time for California farmers who are about a month ahead of schedule for spring planting because of recent warmer weather. Pat Klinger is a sales manager for Wilbur Ellis Agribusiness, which sells fertilizer products to farmers across California's Central Valley. He said some farmers are now calling him concerned he could be running out due to the conflict in the Middle East. This whole Iran conflict has changed the whole fertilizer dynamics, Kringler said. A large percentage of fertilizer components come from that area. The war with Iran has caused the price of fertilizer to skyrocket. The cost of urea is up 30% in the past month, according to American Farm Bureau Federation. Shipments are stuck in the Persian Gulf as a result of Iran blocking shipping lanes out of the Strait of Hormuz. Stockton Port CEO Kirk DeJesus, CEO of the Port of Stockton, said the travel time from the Persian Gulf to his port in California's Central Valley is 30 days. 95% of the fertilizer used in growing these crops moves through and is imported through the Port of Stockton, right? It says, but yeah, that's pretty much it. But again, you see that this whole Strait of Hormuz, this war, is really all right. Is really shutting things down, and it seems like it's by design. Well, it is by design by the Lord, right? And it also seems like Esau's doing this, to really push his agenda, right? The what he really wants to total control over the people, right? Which goes into pushing the C hip, the MOTB. But again, this famine, all right, when you go into the MOTB, all right, the hour of temptation, famine, people's lack of the ability to eat or the ability to get food. What is that? That is a big motivating factor, right? When you can use that against people and then have a solution, we have a food shortage, but if you want to eat, you got to take this, right? What do you think the majority of the people are going to do? They're going to sell out, right? They're going to, they're going to want to eat. People aren't used to going out without food. They eat three or more times a day, right? They're used to, eating whatever they want, whenever they want. Now, how about when there's no food, right? And then, the Esau is the only one that's offering you some type of food to eat, even if it is the bugs or, whatever else they got, right? People are gonna just bend over backwards. And most importantly, people aren't used to relying on Yahweh Shem Shai, right? That's only the elect are gonna. Well, as scripture say, Yahweh Shai say, "You shall live off more than bread alone," right? We trust in Yahweh Shem Shai. Lord's will be of that number, but the elect trust in Yahweh Shem Shai and know that food and all these things, all right, they come from Yahweh Shem Shai. But let me grab this. Is Ezekiel 14:13. It says, "Son of man, when the land sinneth against me," it says, "When the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, then will I stretch out my hand upon it." And this land, it has the track record, right? It has the receipts of going against Yahweh Shem Shai, right? In Nahum, what is that? The third chapter is that it's called a bloody city, specifically here in America. All right, it's built off the rape, the murder, all right, the theft. Esau has done on our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the Lord's chosen people, right? And then how much more everything that it pushes, you know, all the philosophies and the policies, everything that it pushes to go against Yahweh Shem Shai. It says, "Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, then will I stretch out my hand upon it, and will break the staff of the bread thereof, and will send famine upon it, and will cut off man and beast from it." So this is what the Lord is bringing to this place, right? It's part of the plagues, okay? It says, this is second Ezra chapter 15, verse 1. It says, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people," said ears of my people, "the words of prophecy that I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee." And see, we've been set up by Yahweh Shem Shai from the apostles and elders on down, all right, to give these warnings out. Now, we don't care if you don't believe. That's what incredulity is, your lack of faith, right? Because, as we can see, and even these pundits can see, these things are happening, okay? It says, "For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness." Yeah, if you don't believe, you're gonna be caught up in here. All right, you're gonna be caught up in these plagues. Verse 5, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." So these plagues are coming, and famine is one of the main plagues that are gonna hit this place. But again, it works in what? In prophecy. Okay? To bring judgment. All right, and also what? To be on Esau on the left hand side, that motivating factor. All right, to take what he's offering. It says, "For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually." All right. And again, the Lord is this place has a basically a bound, right? A limit. These people have a limit. to where, after iniquity upon iniquity upon iniquity is built up, it gets to that point where it pops. And what's that popping? The Lord bringing judgment. All right. But see, the Lord is letting this place build up that tab. And again, a Esau is going to be destroyed, and what, the 2/3 of our people, because they don't want to repent, they don't believe. Verse 9, and therefore said the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto them all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them to dwell in the land of Egypt. What's modern day Egypt? America. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. All right, and again, the one of the main plagues to hit this place is what? Famine, right? And after all these other plagues hit, what's the end the thing, the cherry on top is those nukes. All right, it says, verse 13, they that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and evading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And again, this is also going to lead to what? A chaos, right? These people bugging out, coming against their governors, coming against their mayors, coming against their presidents, right? And what does Esau have to for the solution? Order ab chaos. You want everything to go back to normal? You want, hey, you want people to be in a better situation? Take what we're offering. This is what this man is going to do. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right. So people are going to be running up, stealing. You're going to have marauding. All right. This is how bad it's going to get. So imagine, we're reading about it right now. You just got a couple of those articles, those headlines. It's going to get real bad out here. Real bad. And these people are going to bug out. Those who don't believe in Yahweh Shem Shai, who have no faith, who have no patience, all right, who are staying upon Egypt and not the Lord, what's going to happen? They're going to bug out, right? And they're going to go into these people's houses. They're going to steal their food. They're going to steal whatever else they can get, all right, just to eat, But again, this is how bad it's going to be. Enough on here. 2nd Ezra 16. And where do I want to start? Yeah, let me just sake of time. Let me start here. Verse 14. 2nd Ezra 16 and 14. It says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer return not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon earth shall not return again. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? Hey, Ezra's seen how bad it was going to get out here. The beginnings of sorrows and great mournings, the beginnings of famine and great death. So with these famines is going to come what? A lot of death. A lot of people dying from starvation. The beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. Yeah, these things are sent for you to get right. All right, but what? The majority of our people can't. And Esau for sure it's impossible. Right? It says, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And hey, we just got out of this time, basically, before this whole inflation thing hit. All right, in at the beginning of the the pandemic, right? You had those You had those loans going out. You had the stimulus packages going out. Things were cheap, and then what? Then you had inflation hit, right? Insurance rates go, everything, right? You have shrinkflation, okay? But now what's going to happen? Famine. You got war brewing up, right? Great confusion. It says, for many of them that, verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the others that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So the Lord is bringing a lot of plagues here, right? A lot of plagues, a lot of death, a lot of destruction, a lot of chaos. All right, Jacob's trouble. Okay, a time. The scriptures say a time like no other. Never was there a time on earth that's going to be this time that's coming up. This is the end, right? And you can see again how this perfect storm is brewing. All right, for these famines to hit all over America, right? All over America. And what is that going to do? Hey, it's going to lead to a lot of death. It says, verse 22 again, for many of them that shall dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. All right, these wars, these people, okay, it's going to be bad out here. And again, you can't say you weren't warned. All right, the Lord's men have been going into this. All right, the Lord is constantly pushing out more and more, warnings. Okay, but in the end, what does it say? The elect have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. All right, the elect are going to be able to get out, and again, hey, the scriptures say, "My servants shall eat." The elect don't have to worry about this famine that's coming. All right, but hey, the 2/3. All right, hey, the wicked people, hey, they got to worry about this because it's coming. Okay, but yeah, Lord's will. This is edifying. Once again, just a quick, lesson going into these famines that are coming. Lord's will is edifying. I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect and above all.